Hey, I can't believe you guys are back for another video. But for those of you who are new, I'm Sarah and this is my channel, Sarah vs. Sewing. I am on a mission to become a sewing connoisseur of sorts. And over here, I like to tackle new sewing projects, mess around with my own pattern creations, some other things in between. If you guys like that sort of stuff, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and stay tuned for more. So as you can see, I sewed this super cute summer dress. I got the pattern at Hobby Lobby, but I was in the store getting fabric for a different project and I saw the sale, so I decided to check out the patterns and I found this dress. However, this dress was made for a woven fabric. So I was thinking, how hard can it be just to make the woven pattern for, you know, a knit dress? But it wasn't that bad, but I did mess up for the neckline because for the woven pattern it called for the outfit to be lined, but I wasn't going to do that, so I was going to just bias bind it, use some bias binding to finish the neckline. However, I messed that up. I should have practiced beforehand, but I was impatient. But long story short, I went back to Hobby Lobby and found a pattern for knit fabrics, and so that's what I ended up using for the top, and it came out fine. Enough of that. Come with me throughout this video as I explain my process of how I made this dress. So for these first few clips, I'm showing basically how I determined what size I was going to use since I am using a knit fabric. So for the first pattern set that I used, I ended up using, I want to say like a size 4. Basically because since it is a woven, I needed a smaller size to accommodate for the stretch, so it didn't end up being too big in the end. However, the top still ended up being a bit too big, but now that I've made the second pattern, I realized that's not necessarily my doing. It's just because the top has a lot of stretch. So I ended up still taking off about like 2.5 inches in the end. But anyway, so as you can see here though, I literally cut out all my pieces and I started sewing up the top. Here I'm just showing how the top is a little bit big, but like I said, that wasn't really my doing. The new top that I ended up using was still a bit big. But anyway, so here is me pinning the ties together, and then I had sewed it together at the sides, and my plan was to then just use like a bias binding for the neckline and then have that kind of be the strap for the tie into a strap, but I messed up on that part, and so I started over, and so that's why I'm using this new pattern for the top. Here it is. So yes, here I am just cutting out the pieces. I needed to cut out the front and back bodice pieces, as well as front and back bodice facings and interfacing for both of those pieces. Then I cut out 2 new straps and the sash or the tie. So here's the bodice pattern I was using originally, and this is the one that I will now be using. But I was looking at this and I'm like, they're pretty much the same shape. Like, I had this curve going, I had this curve, I have a little notch, like flat peak here. Mine is a little bit narrower, but it's not really a problem. And this is the neckline. Mine is sloped more, and I think I'm gonna try to bring this one down a little bit. And then I was trying to just line it up at the waist, so I had it lined up here. It's a little hard for me to show with one hand, but I had it lined up here, and then basically, like where it was, I scooted that dart leg over to line it up. There, it's the same size. I can't get it. So it was pretty much the same size. But I know when I tried it on, the one that I already made, it was still a little bit big. So hopefully this one won't be too big. But then I was also checking to make sure that, yeah, the lengths are pretty much going to be the same, which they are. This armhole is just going to be higher, which is fine. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't any lower or something like that. So I don't know. But so yeah, I'm going to use this pattern now. Okay, so I finished steps 1, 2, and 3, and now I'm going to be working on steps 4, 5. I already did 5. So 4, 6, 7, 8. Okay, here I am sewing the front facing to the back facing. How you are going to attach the facing pieces to your bodice. As you can see, I sewed up the sides. I just took away the same amount that I took away from the inside of my bodice. I don't know if I already explained that, but it fit okay, but I decided just to take it in a little bit more so I can just have like a better fit overall. But yeah, so this is how you're going to pin it. This is the front bodice piece right here, and this is the front facing. As you guys can see, I've already interfaced it, and then I just matched the notches up with each other, and I started here. I pinned that first, and then you're going to just go along and pin it to where the facing is. Ignore this, this is just where my interfacing didn't come all the way up, but it's supposed to be interfaced up here too. But yeah, so these are matching up at the top, and your straps are going to be sandwiched inside just like that, and that's where I already just basted my strap to the bodice itself, but now they're going to get sandwiched in between when you sew. And you're just going to go all along here and make sure your notches are matching up, which mine are here for the side. And then I haven't finished pinning this yet, but you want to then pin all the way across your back bodice as well. You want to pin your back bodice facing to your back bodice fabric, and you just go all the way around and pin it. And then you sew along the edge here, and your straps are going to get sandwiched inside, and then you flip it over. I don't remember if the instruction says to understitch, but it's probably best practice to understitch, so you can do that. But yeah, and then it's going to be finished, have a really nicely finished edge. This part was pretty easy. Just make sure you stay in your seam allowance to not pick up your needle when you're turning, but to put your needle down and just pivot your fabric when you are sewing at the corners. And here, make sure you connect your back strap in between your back facing and your back bodice piece as well. And I don't think the instructions said to understitch, but I did for mine. It helps to keep the fabric or your facing fabric from rolling out. It helps it to keep it nicely flat inside. Basically I'm replacing like this bow. I still wanted like a little tie in the back. So now I'm working on the skirt, and I'm doing skirt C here, and I'm going to work on the front half first. Okay, I've marked my pleats on the front left half of the skirt, but on the instructions it was saying like the pleat, like make these folds go on the outside, which I'm confused about. I don't know why I would do that, so I'm pleating mine on the inside, and I'm just going to baste along the top. It said you can do like a stitch here, but I don't want to, so yeah, I'm just gonna do like basting stitches real quick here and here. Hi y'all. Okay, so I have the front of the skirt half sewn together at the top, and then I just pinned the sides of the front half to the back half of the skirt like so, and I'm gonna sew it all up. Okay, so I finished the skirt and the top portion, and my last step is really just to combine them together, but I tried it on and I actually like it separate. So I think I'm gonna just leave it as a top and a skirt, and just serge the bottom of the top and fold it in under once, and then serge the top of the skirt and fold that under, but put some elastic in it and sew that down, because it's like really cute as a set. And if I want to make it look like a dress, I can just do the sash in the middle like I was going to anyway. So I'm gonna do that, and that is pretty much the last step. So here are my final thoughts on the dress. I am very happy with the way it turned out, and I'm glad I did decide to make it into a set, because now I can just wear the skirt on its own and the top on its own as well. So because the print I think might get overwhelming, but I feel like it's perfect for summer, even though it's ending, I know. But where I live, it stays hot for a while, so I can get away with it. In the sash, it still looks like a dress, how it's supposed to be made. But my only real critiques with this is that I used the wrong type of interfacing, I feel like, for the neckline. Yeah, I think it's made more for like pretty much like a medium weight woven. So this obviously is not that kind of fabric. So I would change that up if I was going to use this pattern again for a knit. I would change that up. Hope you guys enjoyed, and let me know in the comments, who do you think won, me or sewing? But I'm going to end the video here, and I really appreciate you guys watching till the end. Again, don't forget to like and subscribe, and until next time everybody, take care.